What's good with the YouTube of Convicts Perspective? It's your boy, Big Flacco. Smashing, dashing, sliding on through, as always, with a little bit of energy. And I got my co-host, the big Samuel Rojo. What's cracking, YouTube, man? So today, as you guys can tell, man, we got an interesting topic. We're going to talk about the Mexican Mafia's influence in San Jose, trying to take control of certain sureno hoods out there. Without further ado, Rojo's going to get to an article, and we're going to talk about this.
All right, man. This is a couple years old, but we just wanted to bring it up, man, because it's been going on longer than people realize. You know, there's always been Southern hoods, you know, San Jose, Concord, you know, Oakland, all kinds of neighborhoods. But a lot of people would assume that they're just some renegades, man. But that's not always the case, man. Some of them have actually been plugged into the big homies from down south for a while. And this will detail one of them, man. This is from ABC7 News.com. And the title is Alleged Members of San Jose-based Gang Indicted. San Jose, California. The U.S. Attorney's Office in San Jose Wednesday unsealed a 41-count indictment against 27 members of the San Jose-based Mexican Mafia street gang, the Sur Santos Pride, on racketeering, murder, drug dealing, firearms, and other charges. In the indictment, federal prosecutors alleged that members and associates of the Sur Santos Pride conspired with other Sureno or Southerner gangs in San Jose to engage in criminal activity and avoid detection by law enforcement since at least as early as 2009, according to U.S. Attorney Melinda Haag. The indictment was unsealed Wednesday morning in the U.S. District Court in San Jose, according to the District Attorney's Office. Two of the 27 defendants, including Robert Espantos Martinez, 32, are charged with murder for allegedly stabbing a member of the rival Norteño or Northerner gang in San Jose to death on October 23rd back in 2011. To further Sur Santos Pride's criminal activity, prosecutors say is the motive behind this murder. Martinez could have been sentenced to life in prison and perhaps receive the death penalty. Could be sentenced to life in prison and perhaps receive the death penalty, and other defendants, if found guilty of racketeering and conspiracy to enhance their gang's criminal enterprise, could receive life sentences, according to Haag. The charges against the defendants come down following a lengthy investigation by the FBI's Santa Clara County Violent Crime Task Force that was assisted by 10 local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, according to prosecutors. The indictment, which supersedes a previous set of charges against the Sur Santos Pride, includes many drug trafficking and firearm offenses committed by gang members or associates from August 2010 up till January of this year. According to Haag, and FBI Special Agent in Charge David Johnson, the Sur Santos Pride, also known as Santos Pride and Santeros, is overseen by the Mexican Mafia, described as the dominant Hispanic prison gang in Southern California. A major goal of the Mexican Mafia is to control and profit from drug trafficking, prosecutors said in the indictment. The Mexican Mafia is a powerful gang that controls drug distribution and other illegal activities within portions of both the California and federal penal systems, and which has increasingly worked to expand its influence over illegal activities outside of these prison systems, prosecutors stated. In San Jose, prosecutors said that Sur Santos Pride has been working with other local Sureno-associated gangs such as Barrio Surtown, Eastside Clanton, Barrio Paisanos, Locos, and Sureños Por Vida. San Jose-based Sureno gangs identify themselves as Sureños, a term that generally encompasses gang members who were born outside the United States. I'm just reading what it says, no offense to anybody. Who claim Southern California as their base and who acknowledge the primacy of the Mexican Mafia prison gang, according to prosecutors. The Sur Santos Pride, whose leaders were known as big homies and shot callers, were required to commit acts of violence against rival Norteño gang members or members of their own gang who violated gang rules, prosecutors stated. Norteño gang members in San Jose and elsewhere generally include those born in the United States who claim Northern California as their territory and who recognize the primacy of the Nuestra Familia prison gang, according to Haag. San Jose Sur Santos Pride engaged in murder, attempted murder, drug distribution, assault, robbery, extortion, and intimidation of witnesses to prevent them from dealing with law enforcement, prosecutors allege. The first criminal act by the gang cited in the indictment was on April 9th of 2009 when member Ricardo Nicio Montoya, 23, and others stabbed and tried to murder a suspected Norteño member. Jorge Montoya Brownie Rodriguez, 24, Oscar Martinez, Cuete de la Cruz, 27, and others attempted to kill a fellow Sur Santos Pride member inside Elmwood Correctional Facility in Milpitas on December 19th of 2009, prosecutors said. The latest offenses occurred this past January 30th when Jesus Manuel Chumel Armendariz, 22, had 954 grams of methamphetamines with the intent to sell and possess 6 high-caliber firearms. Also on that day, a loaded 25 caliber gun was found at the San Jose home at 890 South Almaden Avenue of gang member Jorge Luis Chivo Oliveira, 20 years old. Members of the gang met in San Jose on a regular basis, obtained and sold methamphetamines, and sent the proceeds to their big homies, mafia leaders in prison in the United States or Mexico, according to prosecutors. They also bought firearms to use during criminal acts, taxed pimps who ran prostitutes, and collected money from fellow gang members to pay the homies, according to the indictment. Those charged with one or more felony crimes in the indictment, along with Martinez, Montoya, Rodriguez, De La Cruz, Armendariz, and Oliveira, include Miguel Payaso Morada, 27, Gilberto Snowman Villela, 32, Jesse Munchies Aguilar, 31, Francisco Grifo Fonseca, 28, Jorge Sleepy Cisneros, 28, Daniel Little Temper Cortez, 21, Jose David Joker Sanchez, 32, Miguel Tweedy Vasquez, 29, Juan Dukester Chavez, 29, Marcos Salvador Cookie Lomel, 27, Jesse Little Looney Pata, 31, Andy Lamb Solo Lopez, 36, Jose Angel Little Chocolate Moreno, 30, and Fernando Nano Cruz, 23. Others indicted include Alfredo Maldonado, Felix Cristobal, Mario Guerrero, Benito Canales, Rafael Mariscal, Mario Cardenas, and Dennis Criminal Sandoval. Law enforcement agencies that participate in the FBI task force include the San Jose, Milpitas, Morgan Hill, Mountain View, Sunnyvale, and Santa Clara Police Departments, Santa Clara County Sheriff's Department, Probation Department, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security.
Interesting article, man. It's amazing how the Sureños have been able to evolve, and the MA have kind of made their presence up north, man. And you got to go back and look at the MA's transition. I mean, even down south, I think it really wasn't till the early 90s when they started the no drive-by policy. They started to tax hoods more. Before, they would have certain videos and stuff that would work with them hand in hand, in the 80s and 70s. But that was just based upon which big homie they were plugged into. The changes started to happen in the 90s where they started to enforce taxi, right? And so that was around like 90, 91, 92, whatever, one of those years, right? So you started to have Sureños up north. There was no type of leadership. There was no type of really any big homies that could have any type of influence. So as the MA starts to grow down south and change their agenda, taxi, putting taxes on their hoods, they started to see more and more Sureños that were coming into the system out of San Jose, out of San Francisco, out of Sacramento, all these different locations. And eventually, some of these upstaters earned their respects as Sureños. So that was an opportunity for them to start to look into being able to move into areas up north, especially if you have the pipeline down south and know that the product's going to be a lot more expensive up north. You know what I'm saying? You have a whole lot of different interactions. And so eventually, as time has grown, you've had a lot more Sureños that are homegrown from San Jose that are not just the traditional paisa ones. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
And now you have a lot of individuals. From what I heard, they recently pulled someone a few years back as a MA Carnal from San Jose. And, that's actually from one of those videos out that way. So I see what they did. And I'm hearing stories about, like in Georgia and Atlanta, Georgia, that those areas where they have a Sureño presence, they've already gone down there and they're starting to tax the hoods over there. They want $100 each from every video out there. So they had to start doing the same thing up north, because they're not going to let these sureños freelance without contributing to the MA. If you're going to bang that 13, you're under the MA's bandera. And so this story right here just goes to show they have to be plugged in with some emero. I don't know who it is. It's not our business, but you know, I'm gonna put two and two together. This is just a perspective. A homie gets in the system from SSP probably, starts putting in work, starts to get respected, builds a relationship with a carnal. Now that carnal puts him under his wing, and now he's out there doing his bidding. Therefore, when he steps out to the streets, he's going to be able to get all these other Sureño barrios to get in line. As you see that they mentioned in this article, other Sureño neighborhoods were working hand in hand with this hood. So someone there had to either have a family member that was a emero or it just got out.
Hey, think about this too, man. You know, before, you know, in our time of being incarcerated with the indeterminate shoes and whatnot, it wasn't easy to have communications, have anything. And it really wasn't easy to access the big homies, regardless of what group of big homies we're talking about. You know, be it down south, be it up north, be it the white boys, be it whoever. Now with these end of hostilities, you know, you're going to have upstate sureños that go onto these yards where there are real made men, right? So, whereas in the past, you're going to have upstate sureños going in the county jails. You know, most of them guys are from down south. You know what I mean? The odds of running into them in the county, small. Going to the main lines when they go to prison, wherever they end up, running into them on the main line, it could happen, but it's still relatively uncommon occurrence. With the end of hostilities and everybody, all the validated, you know, people from the 90s, all the MAs, all the NFs, all the ABs being out on these main lines, they now have access to everybody. You know, so it doesn't matter if you're a Sureño from Wilmington. It doesn't matter if you're from Florencia. It doesn't matter if you're from San Jose or Concord, bro. You're going to end up on these same yards with these individuals, and they're going to have access to try to implement things upon you. So, I mean, it's really going to be like this now. Whereas it was hard to run into them guys. You know, in mine and your situation, we'd always go to the 6 yard. We'd run into them. We go to Pelican Bay, we'd run into them. Regular dudes that aren't validated, though, man, we would have never ran into none of them guys. We might have ran into some bros, maybe.
But they're gonna see. This is the thing, right? And this is the same thing of the NF. The NF and MA have the same philosophy. If you're a foot soldier under our umbrella, you're gonna have to contribute, regardless. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it all comes down to. So it's not like the NF, right? You're not trying to control what the blacks are doing. You're not trying to control what the whites are doing. You're not trying to control any of that. You can only control your own people. You can have working relationships with other groups, but you can only put that influence, that mandate upon those that are norteños. The same thing with the MA. If there's sureños down up north that are doing any type of illicit transactions to make money or whatnot, they're going to have to kick into the MA. There's no other way around it. It's going to have to happen. Same thing if there was norteños down south, which we already know that's not going to happen, you know, and they were down there conducting business, they're going to have to contribute to the NF. So it's not about really establishing territory, because the territories are marked wherever you're doing your business at in the hood. You know, it's about controlling your people. It's the same thing with like the Italians and you know, the Russian mobs and all that. You know what I mean? They're taxing their own people. They're not going to go out and tax these other races, because that's not their business. They're providing protection for their own people. So the NF and MA have the same philosophy. So if you have sureños, which in the beginning, a lot of them, like I said, in the 90s, they didn't have a presence or I'm sure there was a few that had connections, you know what I mean, down south. But then there was also a lot of them who were kind of rogue, you know what I mean, didn't know what was going on. As things have evolved, right? You got to remember the taxation really started to take place down south around 1990, 91. And that's when they really started to represent that 13. If you ask any old time Sureño, they're going to tell you that's when they started really pushing that 13, because that's when they were paying tribute to the MA. So of course they weren't here really taxing back in the 95, 98. I mean, they may have had some connections and business dealings, but eventually they have a plan. Okay. As they get stronger over there, we're going to plug into somebody, and we're going to make sure every Sureño up north is going to be contributing money to us. It's just plain and simple. That's just what it is.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? You know, the same thing, I would say goes for out of state. One question I do have about the whole contributions, it doesn't matter what group we're talking about, either north, south, big homies or whatnot. All the guys who get deported and go to Mexico, you know what I mean? I wonder if, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Are they expected to contribute back to the United States? Or are they going to be expected to try to establish something in Mexico, man? Because a lot of times in Mexico, a regular living is harder to come by. I mean, granted, you have more opportunities to, engage in criminal activities and maybe, try to bring things from down south up north or whatnot. But I wonder if you're still having to send money back to the United States or if you try to do your own thing, man. That's weird. I get it, establishing all of California and the feds trying to get everybody under any umbrella. Because, man, I know for a fact there's northern and southern gangs both in different states that have really no idea what being a homie's about still. They don't know about the NF. They don't know about this. They just got a clique that started because somebody went to California one time and they decided that, and they didn't have the educational ability to teach their homeboys what it was really about. And
Yeah.
I understand, you're branching out trying to get all these groups to come under one because that's where the money at.
Well, it's all going to come down to one thing with any of these particular groups, man. It's going to come down to, first of all, like they've been taxing hoods in certain areas. They kind of put a stop to that with Norteños, you know what I mean? They ask for those contributions, what they call it. As you and I both know, there's no obligations just because you go to Mexico or whatnot to function. Those are optional, but there's always going to be someone who's going to want to set up shop. So whoever has jurisdiction or authority of that area, I'd have to say it's the same thing, like, within the NF and stuff, you may have, Mexico may have a little thing going on over there, whoever they're reporting to, they divide territories up, within that particular group. So I'd have to say that would be based upon whatever individual has that area under his jurisdiction and what he's doing. Because they could be doing different things. They could be trafficking dope. They could be fucking working with the cartels. They could be doing anything. So
yeah,
it's like
doing coyote type shit, all that.
It's like anything. When you establish a regiment, right, you got to see what's available for the manpower that you have to be resourceful. You know what I'm saying? If you got a team that can't sell dope, right, but they can sure take a life, you pretty much got a hit squad. You know what I'm saying? If you got people who are good with, like, credit card scams and stuff like that, you go that direction. You got guys, that could maybe, swoop up on women. I mean, they start that kind of business. You know what I mean? So each one's going to have a different agenda and with what they do to make their proceeds. You know what I'm saying?
I got a question for you, Flacco, man. Have you ever heard of any upstate hood being hit on a federal, like a big MA indictment? I don't think I have.
This one in San Francisco got hit, I think in 2016 or 15.
The San Francisco group got hit with
It was hit at Surenos, but I mean, they're pretty much were paying tribute to the MA too. You know what I mean? Those two that ring out, but no other big ones besides these two.
That's interesting, man.
Well, because you got to remember, there's not a lot of MA members that are going to be out there in the streets up north. There just isn't going to be too many. So they're always going to have someone that they've delegated to take care of business. And all you got to do is make someone feel important, make someone feel that they have a little power. Make sure that, make them feel, that they're a part of something just to go do your bidding. So it's a lot harder to tie them into certain indictments. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hey, you guys, I hope you paid attention to what Flacco just said. That's where the manipulation and stuff comes in a lot of these groups. I'm not going to point at any particular one because it's all of them. You know what I mean? You're going to be used for a purpose. There's only very few people who actually pull the strings in any one of these groups. And the number is that big, bro. I promise you. It's very, very small compared to the amount of manpower. So where all that manipulation comes in, man, you're going to be feeling like you're this major player, like you're this and this. Man, all you are is the fall guy. You know what I mean? And that's basically it. You're doing somebody else's bidding.
Everyone's replaceable.
It may seem like, hey, I made it to the big time and whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Puppet master. Don't think of it any different. That's today's lesson, man. Flacco just brought that out without even intending to, man. But 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, you're nobody, man. In any group.
I agree.
In any group. the expendability. There's 20 homies on the streets that never been to the pen, and in any hood, no matter where you're from, that are waiting to do what you're doing now.
Think about this, Rahul. If you've watched other C's, right? How they work, how they recruit people, right? How they recruit people for the regiment, how they recruit people as bros, right? What are the things that they're looking for? I mean, clear as day, they're looking for that person who is going to be fully committed, is willing to do whatever, and is just focused on what's being put in front of them. Those that basically need to be accepted, that want that status, that want that recognition. You know what I'm saying? Those are the people that you want to, that they're looking for. You know what I'm saying? So you're always going to have people that are going to be like that, man. Ego really affects individuals out there, wanting to be that guy, pump your chest out.
Yeah.
I mean, but when they get out, they start pumping that chest out, and they think they're doing the bidding for the big homies. Next thing you know, they're looking at 50 years of life. Those are the consequences of that lifestyle, man. Those are things that people have to think about. And the thing that happens over and over again is there's a fucking cycle. People come out there and they think they're doing this and doing that. Next thing you know, a whole crew gets busted, a whole regiment or whatever. 2 months later, somebody out there doing the same damn thing again.
And the guys who just got busted, they're basically forgotten. They're only looked at to see if they're telling or not. They're not looked at any other way.
Ain't no money being put on your books. You ain't getting no lawyer.
Not unless it's by your personal people. Not unless it's by your personal people. You know what I mean? And hey, one thing I wanted to touch on too, man, is when you've been banging, you join the hood, 13, 15, 16 years old, whatever the case might be. You get busted, you go to prison at 18 or 19. You're not fully developed mentally. Your maturity's not there, your foresight's not there. So all you've known really, and all you've striven for, is to be the best homie you could be, probably get at females, make some money, and be the best homeboy you could be. That's the only three things that have really been on your mind as a young man. Let's just keep it 100. When you get approached by any of these groups, they're not going to come at you to try to recruit you into their groups by telling you all the bad things. They're not going to tell you about the disloyalty and the favoritism. That's not going to come up. You're going to get hit with the best aspects of it. And being that young age, you're impressionable, man. I'm a firm believer that you're not a full grown man until you're 30 something, where you have the complete ability to evaluate, have foresight, and have an opinion based on just life experience and experience with whatever the case might be. So you're blinded, by these guys that, if that's all you've known as your life and that's what you aspire to be, you always strive to be bigger and better. That's just a human characteristic. So, these OGs approach you and they show interest in you, man, you're already caught up in the web right there. You know what I mean? And you're a young man and you already done fucked off your life by making that decision, because that decision's never going to go away once you decide to do that. It's irreversible. And it leads to what, Flacco?
You already know, man.
20-something years.
20-something years, time.
Dead. Or
I mean, nowadays, if you don't conduct business right, you're going to get whacked when you hit the county jail. Believe it or not, it's like a no-win fucking battle either way. I just think it's, man, in reading this article, and I know this hood, you know what I'm saying, from as a kid, and they were pretty deep out there, but they were never as organized. You know what I'm saying?
I bet you
now you're seeing a whole different template with the inmate in the Surenos of San Jose. Their influence, like they started to drop certain names. They had like Mexicano or something like that. You know what I mean? In their names, they started to put Sureno names. That was required by the big homies. So you started to see a little bit of influence, man. And so, from my understanding, you have a couple individuals who are aligned with that organization that actually have control of certain parts of San Jose. It's not just one MA member that's running San Jose, but years before, you would have never thought that they would have any type of existence. But it makes sense though, because these Sureno hoods now are homegrown. Like, you got Surenos that are coming out with Sajo tatted on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's a whole different ballgame. And this isn't how the ones we experience. And I'm not trying to disrespect anybody from upstate, because I'm not saying that the majority of them were bices. I'm not saying all of them, but there was a lot of them that were strictly bices at that time. You know what I mean? And they had
the first generation, basically. The first generations.
I mean, there was a few Chicanos and stuff. There was a few that came from LA and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. That had a lot of influence. I mean, that's how those hoods came up here, though, too. Is a lot of times it was a Sureno that came from barrios that were from down south, right? They moved up north. They were already from a barrio down south, right? But they started to establish a barrio up north and just renamed it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they carried the name as well. You also had individuals that were coming across the border. They were coming to LA for a minute, being influenced by their cousins, and they were bringing that over here as well.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the same thing, man.
Yeah, we're on like the third generation now. You know what
You
I
know,
mean? So
it goes down to this: when the threat of oppression is going to give birth to any type of particular group to resist it, and that's exactly what happened with a lot of individuals that were coming from Mexico and down south. Was the threat of aggression and oppression from those that were from up north, rejecting them, made them have conflict. You know what I mean? Instead of being embraced. So of course, when you feel what's going to build any type of group or organization? Oppression. So the fact that these people felt that they were being picked on, they were being bullied, is what kind of created these sureno barrios up north. And now, like you said, it's third generation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These guys are out there doing their thing.
Yeah.
And they're not going anywhere. It is what it is.
No doubt. Yeah, that's gonna be the same for San Jose and shit. Man, even that Sereno hood in Salinas, bro, this managed to survive. It's like, man, talk about being
Yeah.
on the front lines. You know what I mean? But Richmond, I mean, they're not going nowhere, bro. There's too many. They're too firmly established. They got all kinds of interests, all kinds of members, and they now have leadership. You know what I mean? Proper, adequate leadership to be able to thrive, man. So it is what it is. But you know how you avoid these Rico acts, y'all? Do something positive with your life.
Yeah.
Don't join a gang. It's
Yep.
real easy. Hey, you
Real
want to be
simple.
from the hood? No, I like you guys and stuff, man. And I'll barbecue with you guys and shit, but I'm gonna do this college thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go to this trade school. I'm gonna go to the union. You don't got to get no indictment that way. Right?
Right.
All right, you two, man. It's your boy Rojo, Big Flacco, man. We just want to touch on the big homies from down south, their influence in the Bay Area and up north, period. And this was a great example for it. We found one for you. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy your Saturday, man. Next weekend's football. Be easy. Much love and respect.